when visitors are there.
He's airing dirty linen. All right. Honorable Geoffrey Ruku is now joining us, Member of Parliament from Mbeere North. Mheshimiwa, thank you for making time. Before you came, we were just talking about two main issues here. MPs in a fix-over opposition office and Raila's 10 tough demands for Ruto. Let me get your views on both of them really quick. Is it important to have the office of the opposition, official office of the opposition, because this will come to you, legislators, to decide whether this is right or not, or to add or remove a few things, and also on the demands being laid out by Raila Odinga, are they justified?
Thank you, Trevor, and my apologies for coming late. I think the creation of the office of leader of opposition is something which is overdue. I think it is going to give whoever becomes second in a general election an office which has mandate and facilitation and which is using the taxpayers' money. So that at least this person can be busy on a day-to-day basis. And I think whatever is happening at the moment with Honorable Raila Odinga is trying to find a certain law to pray. And these demands he has given, it is good to check the government. He's doing his work as the opposition leader. And I don't think we in Kenya Kwanza, we have any problem with this. We have a government in place, and we'll provide security for Raila Odinga to have his demonstrations every day, wherever you want, so long as he will not destroy the property and lives of Kenyans. That is enshrined in our constitution. But we cannot keep on saying that Kenya Kwanza government, led by William Samoei Ruto, is not checking on all these demands or points he has raised. Even the cost of living. Of course, the government is very much aware that we need to come up with strategies on how to ensure the cost of living of Kenyans, wherever they are, in any corner of this country, at least they are able to easier, to get along every single day. And that's why there is ASRA's fund to ensure that. And other many projects which the government is trying to put in place to ensure Kenyans are able to carry their day-to-day activities in a more easy and more accommodative manner. If it's a question of schools, I know the government has very elaborate plans and on how to ensure that every Kenyan is able to pay, or every Kenyan is able to ensure that children are in school, whether it's in primary school or secondary school. And the transition of both class 6 to junior secondary school, there is a very serious plan in place for every primary school to have an extra classroom, which government is going to take care of. So I think Raila Odinga should know and realize that the last general election and two main things. One, that if you work very hard and work smart, you can be anything you want to be in the Republic of Kenya. And two, the politics of tribes is gone, is gone, and it will never come back in this country. And there is paradigm shift, where you call people for demonstrations without, talking about how you are going to have money in their pocket. And this is what the Ruto government is trying to ensure every Kenyan, because it's not discriminating. Wherever you are, so long as you have your phone, you can be able to get some money to do whatever business you want to do in a small scale. Because the standards which have been conducted in Trevor shows that majority of Kenyans struggle every day to get 500 shilling to 50,000 shilling every single day. And that is what the Kenya Kwanza government is trying to provide. So I think Raila Odinga has the constitutional right to call for demonstration, but he should at least know his time is up. We respect him. He's a statesman. He's a man respected across Africa, but let Kenyans be active on a day-to-day basis in activities which can earn an income.
Okay.
Demonstrations will not earn any Kenyan an income.
All right.
And it's high time for this team to realize that and to give them an opportunity to carry out their day-to-day activities.
All right.
Actually,
there are two issues.
There are a few issues, actually, Mheshimiwa Otsotsi said, which I would also want to clarify. First, Mheshimiwa Otsotsi, on the issue of Hustler Fund, please, I would want to urge the Azimio Brigade, do not mislead your supporters. They are Kenyans, they are hustlers, and most of them would want to develop in this country. And if you take them out of this now well-structured and formal borrowing platform and kill their ability to repay their loans or kill their credit worthiness, because what Hustler Fund is doing is creating or is building your credit worthiness so that in future borrowing, you do not have to depend on a security or collateral anywhere. You depend much more on your credit score. So if you have a higher credit score, then you borrow more. Can you imagine if Azimio now misinforms their support base that if you borrow this money, don't repay? What does that mean? You kill that person's ability to borrow in future. And so it means that their credit worthiness and their credit score is going to be down. And so they can't borrow in future. Now, that is going to be a very big disservice, an economic disempowerment of the Azimio Kenya, the Azimio base that supports the Azimio side. And I want to beg and really ask the Azimio Brigade, do not disenfranchise your supporters economically. Remember, the Hustler Fund is an electronic or a mobile lending system. It is not controlled by anyone. It is you now to work out your own credit scores upwards. So if you destroy them, the system would know that you are Azimio or you are a Kenya Kwanza. You are just a Kenyan, you are just a borrower. So if you destroy their credit worthiness in that system, please, you're going to be very unfair to them. I would allow them to just grow like any other Kenyan. And by the way, if they borrow and don't repay, other Kenyans who are going to borrow and repay will continue borrowing, and they will continue benefiting from this. And this is going to be a revolving fund that is going to grow. So I would want to really urge the Azimio Brigade to be very careful on that, and also urge the Azimio supporters, just like the way they have most of them disregarded these public demonstrations, to also disregard any misinformation that they are given. The other issue also has to do with the issue of politicking. I think Mheshimiwa Otsotsi here said that President Ruto has said no to politics. I do not think he has said that. In fact, no, he has not said that. He has not said that. Basically,
he did while also campaigning.
Basically, when the president said that the opposition is free to engage the government, when he said that the opposition is free to oppose, when he said that we even want to formalize the systems, when he says that we are even going to provide security for you to do your demonstrations, he's saying it, and by actions he's actually giving that leeway, and really he has nothing to do with any Kenyan not politicking. If you want to politic, if you want to go and do your politics, that's well and good. In any case, what would Raila Odinga be doing at this particular time other than maybe doing those kind of politics? Yeah. But what is important is that don't also misinform Kenyans. You know, my friend Wakili Okach has said that these 10 points could be revolutionary. It is true. And by the way, the actual revolution happened on 9th of August this year because of these 10 points. The 10 points that you have said here, and really not all the 10 points, some of them really, some of them are also misinforming their propaganda, so to say. Like, of course, saying that the subsidy on school education has been lifted, you know, that is a pure lie. That has not happened. There is no subsidy which has been lifted. Now, the issue of cost of living is probably one of the issues that brought a revolution through the ballot on 9th of August. And Ruto did not call for demonstrations. He did not call for street activism because of the cost of living. He persuaded Kenyans that we are going to provide an alternative way of handling these things. So you can't now say that you want to provide an alternative by going to the streets. In any case, going to the street will only compound the challenge and the problem that we have as a country.
But Kagushe, though, are you concerned, though, that there are some questions around the Hustler Fund that have not been answered? Some as simple as, why is your PIN number even required? Where is the savings going to go? How do you acquire it after some time? When do you acquire it? Because the president himself even said the savings has proven to be even more than what NSSF has been getting, and NSSF has been here for years.
What I would say is that you can't say that there are questions that have not been answered. No. It's just that we're doing education. It is sensitization. And if you give me a bit of time here, I will explain to our viewers on how the Hustler Fund is working. The answers are there. It's not like they're not there. And we are able to explain all of them one by one, and which I'm going to be touching on. But let me say this. My friend Okacha has said that the Kenya Kwanza should engage Azimio. And I ask myself, should we go to the rallies to engage Azimio? You know, I think we have platforms and we have means and ways of engaging Azimio. And what Azimio is saying, nobody has a problem with that. By the way, we want to listen to them more. But you know what is happening? When we went to the JLAC, where I sat, which Mheshimiwa here in a condescending manner refers to as kangaroo, which is not true. I want to tell you, within the first 30 minutes of engagement, in a committee where we had prepared, mind you, we had prepared for the JLAC sittings, all of us, as Kenya Kwanza and Azimio. We had had about 4 preliminary meetings where we agreed even on ground rules, we agreed on everything. But now the day we went on TV in a county hall, the day we went on TV, within 30 minutes, the Azimio brigade had walked out. Within 31st minutes. And what that did is that it left us with quorum, and then they had left. And instead of sitting on to engage, they didn't. They left, and they left also with the councils for the Cherera 4. And later on, and of course they also queried even the jurisdiction of JLAC, but later on, the councils again realized they had done a mistake, and they sneaked in back and said, now we submit to the jurisdiction of JLAC. But we are asking for more time. And of course, they would bring delaying tactics. So you see a situation where instead of the Azimio people engaging in the formal established systems, they do not want that. Instead, they opt for street demonstrations. So like that day they went out, they went and brought some young people to come and demonstrate outside the parliament. And of course, the young people demonstrated only for about 15 minutes and left, of course, after they had eaten their share of the pay for demonstrating. Now, later on, we come to the floor of the assembly, and we're now having a debate about the Cherera 4. Do you know what again happened? Instead of the Azimio brigade staying on to be able to bring out their issues, they again disappeared from the National Assembly. We were only left the Kenya Kwanza side. And then you wonder, why do you want to disappear from where you have been elected to go and represent your people? Yeah. Instead, you want to go and do some street demos in the informal settlement. Okay. And of course, you can see a lot of dishonesty. Yeah. And the good thing is that Kenyans are not buying that. In fact, most of the Kenyans are demanding that go and represent us where we are supposed to be represented.
Let's allow him to respond.
And so I would want to say that for sure, Kenya Kwanza is ready, willing to engage with the Azimio side to engage on how they are going to resolve all the issues they are raising in a formal way, in the right way, as we have now started, and what they were not able to do in 5 years when they were having the handshake government. As to the issue of the tribunal, I agree with Okach. Yes, the tribunal should look at the 2 who are now remaining. If Masit is willing,
it's actually just 1 now.
Yeah, if Masit is willing and ready to face the tribunal, it is good. In fact, you know, in the first place, Masit was not actually qualified to be a commissioner. And a court had ruled that Masit had actually vied for a position within 5 years. And so she was not fit. But the court also said, if we remove her now, it's going to affect the general election. Allow her to finish the general election and then she can quit. Instead of quitting, she's saying that she is ready to face the tribunal after she had, you know, gone through the process they went, which of course, you know, others are now avoiding the tribunal. It's good. Let Masit remain there so that now we can be able to unravel what happened at Bomas of Kenya. We actually want to know who are the sponsors of the walkout, who are the sponsors of the shenanigans, of the chaos that were presented to Kenyans. I remember a parent saying, when the Bomas thing was happening, some of the children started crying in the house when they saw the kind of violence that was happening there. It was traumatized Kenyans and it was leading us into anarchy.
Okay, Osotsi.
Well, it's very unfortunate that go back and maybe you can give him the clip to listen to. Secondly, he has said a number of things regarding jailer committee. I went to that jailer committee to listen to the deliberation there.
To accompany Baba, not to listen.
No, I went there even before Baba came because it was a matter of national concern. And you could see the way the whole thing was being managed by Honorable Murugara, the chair. He had expressed instruction on what was supposed to be done. And you have even had the president himself, even before JLAC started working, he said that those commissioners have to be punished. So the outcome is already predetermined. And we know something about the whole shenanigans. We know the role played by the petitioner, and we know the petitioner is linked to the Speaker of the National Assembly. We also know the chair of the tribunal, his relationship with the Speaker and Chebukati, and that is not for today. But we are saying that opening up the wounds, because Kenyans had started healing the wounds of the election, opening up the wounds by trying to subject these commissioners to a process that is skewed, to a process that is already predetermined, will create even more problems. Because people also want to know what is the role of Chebukati in all this. Because clearly the Supreme Court indicted him in some way. He had something to explain. Why punish these other four and not Chebukati and the rest? So those are the issues that we as Azimio are bringing up. And coming back to Mheshimiwa who has just walked in, I think I'll excuse him because he came late. He may not understand what we discussed. But the meeting yesterday was not about Raila. And this is where these Kenya Kwanza people miss out. Because anything that Azimio does, they want to personalize it and make it look like a Raila issue. The meeting, we had Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka, we had Honorable Martha Karua, and I also want to correct Gakucha, that Jubilee is very much intact in Azimio. And the former President, Uhuru Kenyatta, is very much intact in Azimio. Because these particular meetings that we had were approved by Azimio Council, where the chair of the Azimio Council is Honorable Uhuru Kenyatta. So Jubilee is very much intact in Azimio.
It's good to know.
Going to move. No, you are saying that because you don't know.
It's good to know.
You should be educated by an insider like me. So they are very much inside the Azimio, and we are going to move forward as a team. You know, when we called this meeting, they said we are going to demonstrate. And we said, no, there's going to be no demonstration, that the people's property is going to be destroyed. And you saw the rally was very peaceful. The rally was packed, and they should be worried about that rally. A rally that was not mobilized, there was no mobilization, and people just came to listen. Because the issues we are raising are relevant issues that affect every Kenyan.
Okay.
Yeah? When we talk about cost of living, they promised Kenyans in the numerous meetings they had that within 100 days, they are going to reduce cost of living. That fuel will go down, unga will go down. Instead, those things have gone up. And Kenyans are hurting every day.
Okay.
And you do not want us to talk about that. When Raila talks about it, or when Azimio talks about it, then he's branded, oh, he just wants to be handshake. We are not interested in a handshake. And if Raila is interested in handshake, he knows how to do it. But okay. I don't think he's interested.
All right.
We are pushing for the people's right, and the 10 issues that we have raised, you better start preparing for them.
Okay.
Because we have given a deadline of January. Huh? The issues are very weighty. You better start preparing them. Don't focus on Raila. Don't focus on Azimio. Focus on addressing the 10 issues which are very valid.
Okay.
When it comes to Hustler Fund, really, there are issues, and Gakucha, you cannot...
I'll explain.
You cannot just gloss over it. Even the issue you have raised, Trevor, the issue of SIM, PIN number, M-Pesa PIN number, is serious. Because I'm an IT expert, I can tell you that fund has violated the Data Protection Act. It has completely violated the data protection. Any Kenyan can walk to court now and get orders to stop it because of violation of Data Protection Act. Because you cannot ask me to give me your PIN and you don't know where that data is being taken. You don't know how that data will be used. Maybe they want to pick data so that they can start chasing people for tax. You remember they said they are going to look for ways of ensuring that they are going to collect as much tax as possible. Maybe this is one of their strategies and they're not telling Kenyans. So in the coming days, we are also going to demand for some of these things, that this fund is violating the Data Protection Act. And I expected the office of the data commissioner to raise these issues. And the office has not raised these issues. Because if indeed that office is independent, it should have raised these issues. But again, you know, these guys are engaged in state capture. They are capturing every institution. They have captured parliament. They have captured judiciary. They are trying to capture IBC. And you know, they promised us that they will set up a task force against state capture. But instead of setting up the task force, they are actually actively engaged in
let's see what Okacha has to say. Okacha has been quiet for quite some time. You wish he was. Yes, Okacha.
Yes, thank you, Trevor. I think the discussion is very, very engaging and enriching. And it's good we look at the reality of these particular matters. Engagement must be there. And I do not agree with Kagosha when he says that the president now just sat back and waited for people to vote. I think Ososi has rightly captured it, that when he was deputy president, he went out, he met people, he made all these complaints. So engaging with the people is not a bad thing and cannot be vilified because it is exactly what also was done. However, looking at it from this perspective, there are major issues which must be raised. And we have been reminded that none other than the president and the deputy encouraged positive criticism and constructive criticism. And I am very clear when I use those two words, so that it's not just criticism for the sake of it. So when issues are raised about this Hustler Fund, the intentions are very good, very noble, and very okay. The opposition that is coming to it may also be laced with just a quench or a thirst for it to fail. But amidst all these, there are issues which I'm happy Kagusha is saying would want to touch on, which are very, very serious. One is what Ososi has said. The Data Protection Act is very clear on this issue in terms of protecting your data. And this is one of the reasons that the Huduma card was actually declared unconstitutional. So we already have a decision on that. So that particular aspect should be looked at. But over and above it, any public expenditure by any person, including the president, must be within the ambits of the Constitution and the public finance management aspects in the Constitution. So the moment a fund has been created of several billions, which was not budgeted for, because remember the budget was the budget by the previous government, so where has it come from, first of all? How is it structured in terms of management? Because if it is public funds, then it has to be structured in a way that even the Office of the Auditor General can then trace it and know that there is prudent use of this fund, and in terms of even a report thereafter. These are very major issues in terms of the success of these funds. Some of these issues being raised are not just being raised to ensure that this fund does not succeed, but it may even strengthen and ensure that this fund benefits many of us in the future and Kenyans themselves. So if we look at it in terms of positive criticism, then we will not just defend for the sake of defending, but we'll take the positive aspect, improve on it, and move it forward. Okay,
Ruku, because also there's a concern here from Charles Mbungela Wananchi saying that, tell Honorable Kagusha that 5% saving, but who is the next of kin in that Hustler Fund? But anyway, we'll come to that in just a bit. Yes, Ruku.
Thank you, Trevor. I think what Senator is alluding to, you know, it's not very good to misinform Kenyans. And also it is good to, as a democracy, and as a growing democracy, we must try every single day to build a vibrant and robust democracy, whereby we respect the rule of law, we respect our constitution. And for those who are in high offices, like commissioners, these are public offices, and if you violate a single tenet of the constitution, the best thing is to step aside so that we can develop a culture of taking responsibility when we go wrong in our offices. And this should not only be in public office, but also in private office. The 4 commissioners, they violated the constitution of the Republic of Kenya by trying to affect the will of the people of Kenya on 9th of August. Actually, there should be no tribunal getting formed. The best thing they should do is to resign. And I commend the 2 commissioners who have already...
There are 3 now.
There are 3 now.
Cherera, Nyangai, and Wanderi.
The one who is also remaining, let him just do the noble thing and write a resignation letter because there is evidence as far as trying to affect the will of people of Kenya. And this should not only go to commissioners, but any other public officer who has an office entrusted by the people of Kenya and which is a constitutional office. And this is the culture which we have to try and cultivate. And I think that in Parliament will try to ensure that is going to happen now and in the future.
But how have you decided that there's evidence and yet the tribunal has not even sat?
Yeah, the tribunal should give, it's a platform for the evidence to be tabled, yes. But we, in public, we know what happened at Bomas of Kenya. We know exactly what happened at the Bomas of Kenya. And that's why the president is giving a platform or a tribunal so that this evidence can be tabled there. Okay? So we, in our private capacities, for those who are on official duty in Bomas of Kenya, they know exactly what was happening. There are evidences, in terms of CCTV evidence on what exactly these commissioners were trying to do. We know money exchanged hand. We know the 4 commissioners were given money, how they moved from Bomas of Kenya to Serena. We know the kind of discussion they had before they go to press conference in Serena. I mean, all this information is there. There's nothing, Trevor, you can do in this country and you don't leave traces. So these traces are there, and they are pointing that to the direction that they committed a violation of the Constitution, actually gross violation of the Constitution of the Republic of Kenya, by trying to affect the will of the people. And it's actually reasonable. So let them resign and we don't need to drag each other all along, trying to accuse other and let them resign.
Okay.
The other point about Atlas Fund, Trevor, what Senator has also said, I sit in the Committee of Delegated Registration in Parliament, and we are the committee which look at the regulations, so that those regulations were tabled by our committee in Parliament, and it is Financial Inclusion Fund regulations. It's a fund which is very well managed. A fund which has a CEO, which has a board, as far as the regulations are concerned. And when you're talking about the percentage, which I know Senator will talk about 8% as interest, and which as Mio is trying to blow it out of proportion, 8% per annum, Trevor, you realize that it is 0.002% per day. And if you get 50,000 as a loan, you only pay 10 shilling per day for a year. I don't know whether we have any other place, any bank or any fund in Kenya which can give loan of money with that kind of interest. And also it is important, we know that if we are running a fund, there must be some costs like operating costs, a call center costs, a life cycle of their own management is a cost. So where do we get this money to manage all these, to take care of all these costs?
Okay.
They must be coming from somewhere.
All right.
Actually, the fund is not going to make any profits.
Okay.
Okay? So it is something which is very well structured, and the regulations are very clear, and they are for taking care of the people at the bottom of the pyramid to ensure their daily needs. The 500 shilling which they need, the 1,000 shilling which they need on a daily basis is well taken care of, and they can be able to get it without much struggle.
Okay, Kagusha.
Yeah, I would like to just point out two issues. Number one, it has to do with the issue of the removal of the commissioners. What my friend here, Mheshimiwa Osotsi, says that it's unprocedural. And they have a problem with that, the removal of the Cherera 4. They say it's unprocedural. But I dare Mheshimiwa here to explain any other time we have had a more procedural and open process of removal of commissioners like we are having now. In 2007, we had Kivuitu. And you can remember the clamor for change of the ECK. And of course, you can remember the push and pull that came from Raila Odinga to have the commissioners removed then. We had the Isaac Hassan commission again. We had, when again we had the Oswagos and such in the commission. And all along, 2007, 2013, 2017, we have had a very serious push to unprocedurally and illegally remove commissioners from office. This is the only time ever in our new democracy now we have had commissioners actually being taken through the process of removal in a formal legal process, well structured, well understood, open and clear. And you get very interested to now look at what is happening. That the same person who has, over the years, pushed commissioners to be removed from office illegally. Now, when the commissioners are being removed legally, he now wants to do an illegal process to defend commissioners who are independent. Because how do you defend independent commissioners when, in fact, you are a player in that election? So that is a problem. And I would want to say this is the first time we are having commissioners removed legally. On the issue of the Hustler Fund, again, I really want to, of course, urge the people who are handling the Hustlers Fund to bring more education. And I'm sure it's going to be given more and more information to the public because I know the Azimio people are also taking advantage of the fact that it's a new product to misinform Kenyans. You know, Trevor, today, I would want to ask you, you have an M-Pesa account. What guarantee do you have that money in the M-Pesa will be there when you wake up tomorrow in the morning? You know? Have you ever sat down to ask yourself, when you receive that money on M-Pesa, when you have that M-Pesa money in your account, in your M-Pesa account, have you ever asked yourself, I mean, this virtual money, where is it stored? Where is it? Are you getting? Because those are the questions now we are asking. Yeah? Hii pesa, kwa nini Wakenya hawana shida hii pesa iko kwa M-Pesa, iko wapi? Because this is virtual money. And everyone in the world knows that M-Pesa was a genius. And anyone, even in the developed countries, want to come to Kenya and benchmark and copy the mobile money M-Pesa which operates in Kenya. Because nowhere else in the world have we had this kind of a virtual operation of money. Now, we have Hustler Fund, which really is an account that you create, a virtual account, which is embedded on a M-Pesa, which really has to do with the service provider. You understand that Safaricom is playing a key role in provision of this service, in the development of the platform, in the running of this platform, and in the management of the platform. And it is doing this under the regulations that the Ruku's parliamentary committee delegated legislation passed and brought to us in the parliament to also endorse, which even the Azimio side, endorsed in Parliament. That time, at least, they were there. They had not taken a walk. So we all voted for these regulations. And what is happening is that we have Safaricom, which we can trust, and they have given us M-Pesa, which we have used for so long. Now we have an account that you are creating, and this account is embedded on your M-Pesa. And so the same way, you normally don't get disturbed that you have 100,000 shillings on your M-Pesa account. The same way, you can never be disturbed that you have a saving of 20,000 in your Hustler account. The Hustler account is a virtual account, just like your M-Pesa account. Now, these virtual accounts operate in a way that at the back, there is actual currency, actual money, hard notes, actual money which is now backed up somewhere in an account in the bank. So like now, M-Pesa, it operates from a bank account somewhere. So what happens is, if you transfer this virtual money, there is also another actual transfer of money that will happen in that account. Same thing, when you have the Hustler Fund here, if you borrow, there is an actual money that will be deducted from the Hustler Fund and put in your actual account, and now here in the virtual. So it is a virtual account which operates here. Now, the issue of getting your PIN or asking for your PIN, it is nothing suspicious. I mean, just now when I was coming, I had a problem at the expressway because my system jammed. It refused to open. In fact, I had to buy more. I had to top up. And when I was doing the top-up, of course, to realize I still had a float, which in fact I should have the Moja people try to explain also why we are also having that challenge. But when I topped up, I had to put an M-Pesa PIN on this Expressway Moja account that I'm operating on my phone. When you have an M-Shwari account on your phone, or even KCB account on your phone, every time you want to operate that account, at one point or another, you're still going to put your M-Pesa PIN. And really, that has nothing to be suspicious about, because these two accounts are embedded on each other. Okay. It's drawing from each other, it's giving you money on your M-Pesa, because even when you get money from the Hustler Fund, it throws your money into your Hustler account, and that money reflects on your M-Pesa.
Okay. Even when paying the parking fee.
Yeah. I mean, every day you use your... But now you see, there are people who are introducing fear. And that's why we now need to differentiate facts from fiction. Okay. There are some people who are introducing fear to Kenyans. They are selling fear to Kenyans to start fearing this platform. And it is the same thing I'm saying. These people have been used to disenfranchising the population so that the population becomes disempowered, so that the population becomes, begs this political class. Okay. And for the first time now, you're going to be in control of your borrowing, of your savings. And by the way, once you have saved that money here in this, in your Hustler account, sooner than later, this platform is developing. It's only a few days old. It's developing. Right now, if you want to save money, deposit money in your savings account, you cannot. You'll be told there it is work in progress. It's being improved. If you want to access your savings, you still be told it's a work in progress, because that system is still being developed. And in the fullness of time, this system is going to be fully developed. Okay. So let no one give fiction where facts exist. Right. And the fact that people have not yet understood completely all the information about the Hustler Fund operations doesn't mean that one should misinform them. Okay. And lastly...
Yeah, very briefly.
Yeah, lastly, when we are at it, Kenyans are borrowing big. Kenyans are registering big. Kenyans are saving big. And Kenyans are repaying in a very big way. Okay. And so I see a situation where if a few Kenyans are going to be convinced by the Azimio Brigade and they get disenfranchised economically, tomorrow they will be fighting the Azimio Brigade. Why? Because they cheated them, and the system has worked well, and Kenyans who are borrowing and paying back are going to be so empowered that you'll be borrowing 50,000 almost interest-free. Yeah.
Also, have you foreseen what Kagusha is saying? It's akin to economic sabotage, because if your followers then decide that they're not paying back this money as you had advised at Kamkunji, then their credit score goes lower.
You know, we base on facts. First of all, he has talked about the regulations having been passed. by the delegated legislation committee.
And
the National Assembly.
Of the National Assembly.
Ruku is a member, actually.
Where is a member?
Yes.
But, Trevor, if you follow the process, clearly there was a problem. Because the functions of the delegated legislation committee is to determine the legality of regulations and they decide to approve them or annul them. But they went ahead and approved them when there were concerns around it. First of all, there was the issue of sufficiency of public participation. There was also the issue that the PFM Act is very clear that all funds are domiciled at the Treasury. But this particular fund is domiciled in this ministry by Chelugui, where the CS Chelugui. Number 3, concurrency of the Senate, because the Supreme Court made a ruling that any piece of legislation that is passed by either house must have the concurrency of the either house. Senate was not involved in this matter. There was no concurrency. I don't remember them having brought those regulations to the Senate for debate and for approval. And then lastly, they mysteriously waited for the opportune moment when members had gone to Juba for the games, and they sneaked in those regulations for approval. That clearly shows you the mischief. And I am surprised John here, Honorable John here, who is a lawyer, he's taking this matter of data protection very lightly. Yes, those other providers request for your PIN, but they have adhered to data protection regulations and law. First of all, they have been registered as data processors and under the law, and they give you the consent as a user of that system before they pick your data. There is no consent in this hustler thing. They just tell you, put your PIN, do this, do this. There is no platform for you to either accept or reject, which is a requirement under data protection law.
Yeah.
So when we raise these issues and they gloss over them and they want to play propaganda around it, we want to tell you, Hustlers Fund is a scam, and a big scam.
Okay.
And until they rectify those issues that we have pointed out as the opposition, we will continue talking about them, and we will continue telling our people. Because one of the issues I've raised here is that where was the sitting of the National Assembly to appropriate 50 billion shillings to Hustlers Fund? And they cannot go and take that money under emergency funds because the Hustlers Fund was not an emergency. There was no supplementary budget. There was no appropriation. Where did that money come from?
Okay.
That question has not been answered by the two gentlemen from Kenya Kwanza.
Okay.
So that's why we are saying,
yes.
And again, Trevor, what are you going to do with 500 shillings? What business can you start with 500 shillings? That is the frustrations Kenyans are having. That's why they will end up eating that money, because you cannot start any business with 500 shillings.
Also, we need to understand that 500 is the minimum.
Yes.
Otherwise, you can also take 50,000. I get it. But they will grow their score, their credit score up to 50,000.
And most people actually borrow less than 1,000 shillings. That's statistical data. So this is understandable. We go catch.
Yes, I think like you've had, Kagushia and the Buri MP have not answered the critical questions that have been asked. The intention is good. No one argues about that. The benefit is there. But these issues that are being raised, which they are circumventing, are proper issues that can actually bring down this fund. First of all, you've had, it was already declared at the Supreme Court that these finance bills or anything touching on spending must also have the concurrence of the Senate. It did not have. That's already a problem. How this thing was being rushed is why we are having these particular small issues, which can be dealt with, in my view. The issue of putting a pin on other platforms. You put the pin when you are spending. When this is an actual borrowing where you'll be paying by interest. The big issue that comes here, and that's why the public participation around it should have been done properly and comprehensively, is because the government had a policy, and I think that policy still remains, that the government wants to move out of doing business, and the government is supposed to create a conducive environment for people to do business. And that is how you encourage people to now succeed. Okay. Otherwise, it's the government that will succeed and not the people. Therefore, you find that in terms of this particular fund, it is created like a bank. Banks are regulated by the Central Bank of Kenya. Any aspect of borrowing, and even if it is a SACCO, there is already a regulation and a regulator. Who is the regulator of this fund that is now competing with commercial banks? What are we then saying in terms of the fact that the government ought not to be a direct competitor with business people? That becomes a major issue that needs to be answered. Secondly, you find that the issues outside now the regulation, the issues about the policy of the government now, and especially the Kenya Kwanza part, is that as much as they are hounding out of office the Cherera 4, there's an issue that has been indicated by Osotsi, which I indicated that anyone who reads the Supreme Court decision will also see that Chebukati was also properly faulted in terms of his management of that election and his interpretation of the Constitution. But no one is then coming back to say that, let us also deal with this. And I think they tried, maybe for whatever reasons he says, it did not see the light of day. But that says that you are discriminating. Okay. But the problem that I have will be that over and above that, and Kagusha should listen to this, is that it then sends a message that it is not, we are not dealing with the main issue like Kagusha had said, but now we are witch hunting. Because the Deputy President was on record at a point saying we will not revisit, we will not have issues with people who may have played a role here and there. But now we have seen that immediately after there was an issue with the Deputy CEO of the IEBC. There's an issue now with the commissioners. Then we have also heard that there are certain people or regional, provincial heads who are already being earmarked for some disciplinary measures based on their role in the past election. If that continues, then we are going down the wrong path, because we're actually revisiting, and legally, that is not the proper way to deal with things.
All right, gentlemen, we have to leave it there. There's no time, really.
No, I just wanted to highlight, there's something that the two gentlemen are saying that we have not highlighted on, but I would want to point out that the laws in the PFM Act allows the Finance Secretary or the CS Finance to appropriate funds of this nature. Okay. And so this yeah, indeed. And of course, you can understand that His Excellency the President did make a promise to Kenyans that by this date we will have to, we will deliver some of these promises. And so this is within the armpit and the mandate of the Finance Cabinet Secretary. Right. And so there's nothing illegal about this.
Yeah, Ruku, 1 minute.
It is important, Trevor, to point out that Treasury and SMEs ministries are working together. During the, when we are going through the regulations of Financial Inclusion Fund, which is ASRA's fund, the PS Treasury, Moya, was there, as well as the Minister and his team of small and micro enterprises, Cherugui. So they are working together. The public participation, which you mentioned, if I come with the fire here, Trevor, you'll see the SME ministry, together with the Treasury, they went around the Republic of Kenya collecting fees as far as the Financial Inclusion Fund is concerned. So there was a clear and very well coordinated public participation as far as the ASRA's fund is concerned.
All right, we have to leave it there.
Point of information.
1 second, yes.
You know, these two gentlemen, they are new in Parliament, but I want them to go and read parliamentary reports which have been passed in the past, the budget reports. Very clear. Any amount above 1 billion must be approved by Parliament. Whether it's an emergency or what,
Yeah.
Any amount over 1 billion has to be approved by Parliament.
All right.
That was not done with the Hustler Fund.
Okay, gentlemen, we have to leave it there. I mentioned earlier on that Commissioner Francis Wanderi was also resigned, so that brings it to 3. Cherera, Nyangai, and Wanderi have all resigned. Now it's only Masit who's decided to go all through the tribunal hearing that I had mentioned earlier on. Let's see. I want to thank my guests for coming in. Honorable John Kagusha, Member of Parliament from Kurueni, Honorable Godfrey Osotsi, Senator for Vihiga, Honorable Geoffrey Ruku, Member of Parliament from Bere North, and Dan Kanokach, Advocate of the High Court. Asanteni sana for coming through. Safina Chieng is coming up next right after this break. This is the information that I was talking to you about earlier on. It happened yesterday at 7 p.m. He sent in his resignation, and I have part of it there. He's saying that I can read part of the resignation from the Commissioner Francis Wanderi, saying that I hereby tender my resignation as a Commissioner in the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission. The decision, while extremely difficult and agonizing for myself and my family, has been necessitated by undue and unwarranted public lynching based on falsified information, tainting my reputation and integrity. All right, that's just part of it. Whereas 2022 general election, particularly the voting process, was lauded as seamless and transparent by Kenyans and international observer groups, the same election birthed the so-called Cherera 4 commissioners. In my replying affidavit during the 2022 presidential election petition, I sought the following prayers from the court: a declaration that chairperson of the IEBC does not have the exclusive role and or mandate to tally results, that the IEBC as a commission is not synonymous with the chairperson, and number 3, a determination in the manner in which the IEBC as a commission should operate in regards to the role of the chairperson vis-a-vis the role of the commissioners in the entire electoral process, including the final voting. He says at the end that he remains hopeful that the rule of law as envisaged in the Constitution will continue to safeguard all Kenyans, and trust that the government will institute a standing body to address the corporate governance issues within the IEBC, including disputes among commissioners, to avoid future boardroom ruptures. Signed, Commissioner Francis Wanderi. All right, let's take a quick break here on Daybreak. Come back, Safina Chieng is up next.